Guys, I've been saying this over and over again, but blockchain developer demand is so high right now that you don't even have to know that much in order to get hired as a blockchain developer. You can actually learn the minimum amount that you need to know pretty fast and then learn the rest on the job. So I've talked about this a lot on my channel recently, made lots of videos about this. But today I've invited on a guest, Cosimo, who got his first blockchain job in just 2 months. So I'm super excited to share with you this interview today so that you can learn from his experience and try to do some of these things yourself. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash the like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step by step from start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. So I'm super excited to have Cosimo on the channel today because, he's somebody who has, kind of changed his career and become a blockchain developer. So welcome to the channel.
Hey, thanks, Gregory. Nice. Good to be here.
Yeah. Super excited to have you on today, man. So, what we're going to talk about today is Cosimo's transition, because he wasn't quite a developer. He had a technical background already. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But, Cosimo has been watching Dapp University basically from the beginning, I think, is what you're kind of telling me. And of course, he did the blockchain bootcamp to kind of learn the technical skills that he needed to, get a job. And he went down that road, and that's what he does now. So, I've invited him on today because I know a lot of you are wondering, hey, can I do this? Is this possible if I, have some technical knowledge? Maybe I don't have any technical knowledge. Maybe I'm a developer. I want to make this transition. Bring on somebody today who's done it to tell you about their experience. So you can kind of pick up the tips and tricks and, kind of get inspired to do the same thing. So anyways, man, let's jump into this. So tell me a little bit about what was your background before you made this change?
Right. So my background was technical, but I wasn't a developer. I was an ethical hacker. So I was a IT security guy. For a consultancy, but I had no developer knowledge. I knew JavaScript and HTML, just basics, some Python, but that wasn't my job.
Right. So you had, some experience basically thinking about how systems work and trying to, think like a bad guy, so to speak, to exploit those systems. But you hadn't really had experience building those systems from the ground up as a developer, getting there with the code and building features. That's kind of what you're talking about. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the job that you have now, and then we'll kind of talk about the transition from how you went from that to what you do now.
Sure. So right now I'm working for a consultancy called Xtropy.io. And basically it's very interesting because we work for big clients and we kind of touch on everything. We develop projects that touch on social aspects, on IoT, everything that blockchain can potentially create in the future. So it's a very experimental, it's very cutting edge, and there's always something to learn every day. So I'm constantly learning, but
nice.
Yeah,
totally. That's awesome. So you're touching kind of all parts of the stack at this point. Would you call yourself a full stack blockchain developer?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Blockchain, mobile apps, websites, and it all started with Dapp University.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool, man. So let's talk about that transition a little bit. So, you said, we talked a little bit before we started record this video. You said that you kind of jumped in the boot camp program as soon as it came out. I got notified, you jumped in the, blockchain mastery program and we're talking about, hey, I transitioned into blockchain as a developer, all this kind of stuff. So that's when I, said, more people want to hear about this to kind of learn from your experience. So, so you jumped in the bootcamp program. So tell me about sort of that transformation that happened there. What did that enable you to do, so that you could land this job?
Right. So, when you start off, it's quite scary because even though I had technical background, you don't really know where to start. And having someone like you who, walks you through the whole thing from setting it up to, front-end development and blockchain, all in one package. I don't think it's very difficult to find online. So, I started off slowly. I started with your blog posts and videos, and then when the bootcamp came out, I gave it a go. I had already left my job, so I was able to focus on it full time.
Right.
It's very challenging, but I was making progress every day. So at the end of the day, every day I was learning something, learning something new, building something new, and towards building that decentralized exchange. That's the end goal. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that's one of the things that's kind of how I learned programming before I got into blockchain, was like through project-based stuff. I always say it's the most efficient way. To me, it's the fastest way to really gain the skills that you need. Now, that being said, there's some trade-off with the speed, is that it can be like extra challenging where you're kind of just jumping in there and learning all the programming languages that you know. But would you say that, you really learn it from the inside out that way?
Yeah, definitely. That was learning the hard way, but also the smart way, because as you said, project-based, it's something that gives you, a good feeling at the end of the day. You're actually building something, you're seeing your efforts realize somehow. And at the end of it, I was basically able to post it on GitHub and live on the blockchain. And it's something that you can tell your employer if you come across one.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome, man. So let's talk about that, kind of next step, because like I always say, you have to have the skills to pay the bills. If you're going to get a blockchain developer job, you need to get this, acquire the skills that people are willing to pay for. So, you got that. So let's talk about sort of that next step in the journey of, jumping out there, looking for a job, applying to the jobs and then getting hired. Because this is sort of that next step. A lot of people have been watching the channel. Maybe they've gotten the skills through the YouTube videos. Maybe they've done the boot camp and they want to kind of take that next step. Tell me about that. How did you start looking for jobs?
Right. So this was before COVID. So I was going to a lot of meetups and conferences, and really just talking to people. I just met the CEO. He was giving a free workshop. I went to this workshop a few times, went out for a beer, and he just liked me and trusted that I had the skills to it. So it's very important that I felt very safe that I did your boot camp before just jumping in, because I could have just said, yeah, sure, I can do this, but then that boot camp gave me the confidence to say, yeah, I can do this. Just talking to people and meetups. You can always do that online.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And that's really how I got started as well in my software development career. Again, this is before I got into blockchain. If anybody's kind of watching this video is new to the channel. I was a developer before I got into blockchain, but self-taught programmer. No computer science degree, no coding boot camp for me. I was self-taught, and then that was kind of how I got started. I started going to local meetups, and very similar story. Found somebody who needed to hire a junior developer, basically, to work with them, and it was, when people find out what you can do, you know what I mean, and they really need people, it's crazy how fast you can get hired.
And exactly. One thing I want to point out to people is that it's very in demand right now. You have no idea how, because I'm constantly in touch with people. So it's not that difficult. You got to have the skills, but just look for it. It's there waiting for you. Just start with a job at a startup, at a consultancy, and then wait a few months and you'll get that job that you perhaps wanted to at some other bigger company. So for example, one thing I did in the beginning was I started looking for a job at the bigger companies, bigger names like Consensus and all of these, because those are the famous ones you come across when you start off. But they all ask for a year experience. So, there's no harm joining a startup, which it's always going to give you the time to learn and the experience that you need. That's what you need really in the beginning, and then you can always switch. And right now I'm getting job offers every week from bigger companies, which I could, go for. But yeah, I mean, don't be scared. Just go for a startup. They still paid me better than my old job at a bigger consultancy, well-defined business. So it's still a big jump in terms of, you know, what you earn and the new skills you're learning. So it was a positive change.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's spot on because, you know, I was talking about, you know, blockchains in such high demand. It's good for you to say that because, you know, I see it on my side. You know what I mean? I get like multiple offers like on a weekly basis of people wanting to work on projects. You know, I'm seeing stuff like all the time, like we need a developer online. But it's also good to hear, you know, somebody else who's, you know, just working for a company right now who's kind of seeing a similar type of demand. And that's one of the reasons that even, you know, new blockchain developers are getting snatched up like that. And I think it's really important because some people think like, oh, they're only hiring like senior developers and all this kind of stuff. That's just really not true. You know, I've done lots of, you know, kind of interviews with other people on my channel who are kind of newer. And yeah, I mean, there's still lots of demand.
Yeah. There's way more demand than there is supply of people. So yeah, it's very encouraging.
Yeah, totally. So the job that you're working in right now, is it a remote job? Do you go into an office? Has that changed since COVID maybe?
So it changed over, you know, since the virus, but yeah, it's fully remote right now. We have daily meetings with the team. Yeah, I guess most of these jobs are. So I guess physical location isn't, you know, an obstacle either.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's definitely forced people to kind of do things a little bit differently. So that's awesome. Okay, cool, man. Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit before, but I want to bring it back up. So you said you did like, and I want to just use this as an example for people to help kind of understand. So you mentioned before that you had a portfolio website before you even started applying for jobs, and you updated that. Maybe tell me that story again.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, I felt like having a portfolio website is good because not being someone who was a developer before tells an employer that you have you've put in the time and you're creative and you can do front end development, not just blockchain. And it really sticks out. Like instead of just, if you put on your CV, just, you know, LinkedIn profile and a personal website, that's really something I'd value a lot as an employer.
Yeah, totally. And I think when we chatted before, you know, because I talk a lot about my channel and the boot camp, everything about the portfolio being really key for a few different reasons. Like one, it solidifies your learning. You know what I mean? Like you create a portfolio project that gets put onto some sort of like marketing portfolio. You know, it's like your capstone. It's like, yes, I can do this. Here's my project. Like here's proof. You know, the other part is, you know, when you put it out there, it's just marketing for yourself. And it was interesting because you mentioned it. Maybe hopefully I heard this correctly, that like your current employer didn't really like scrutinize your portfolio or anything like that. They seem pretty confident on other markers. Is that right?
Yeah. I guess that's up to the employer.
Yeah, totally. And I think I just wanted to kind of highlight that because sometimes people get a little confused about this. From where my philosophy on this is like the portfolio is going to increase the likelihood that you're going to land that job. You know what I mean? And in your case, the portfolio is still important for that first reason that I mentioned, is it solidifies your learning. And you even mentioned before, like, you had the internal confidence to say, yeah, I can do this. I can apply for this job. Maybe I still have some things to learn, but I at least have the minimum needed to do what they ask me to do. And I can learn more things along the way, but it wasn't like them just like scouring the code of your portfolio to see what your abilities were, which sometimes that does happen. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's awesome. Well, cool, Cosimo. So this has been super helpful. I'm trying to think, is there anything that you can think of from your experience, since this is still pretty fresh to you, like maybe some lessons, maybe some little nuggets of wisdom that you think are important for other people to know who want to go down this road? We've talked about a lot, but anything else?
Okay. So, I mean, I need to mention now that I did leave my job before going into blockchain, I think it's very important that before you leave your job, if you still have one, whether you hate it or not, you still need to probably get the basics straight of blockchain. Because obviously, like, I didn't just quit my job. I didn't just learn about Bitcoin and quit my job. It takes like a little bit the learning curve. And then towards the like end of my last job, I realized that I was spending more time learning about blockchain than about new things for cybersecurity stuff. So I realized, okay, that's where I want to go. But if you do leave, like, I mean, your Dapp University was a massive help, because I was able to be like working on it 100% all of my free time. Like, you gave me something to work on. You gave me a concrete project, because it's easy to be put off if you start off like you begin with trying to think, okay, what should I learn? How should I learn? So I started buying a few books, but then the books, get outdated really quickly. Then some Udemy courses. So yeah, I mean, it took me 2 months from the moment I quit my job until I found one. I was really surprised. I also would say I gave myself a deadline of 4 months from the moment I quit it to, but it's really worth it. I was really like surprised how quickly I found one. I wasn't even looking for it. And right now I would recommend to really everyone, even if you don't have a technical background, if you don't, just like study the basics of JavaScript. And once you got those, then you can start with Dapp University. I would start like casually doing some of his tutorials, because they're self-contained, like most of them. It takes like, you can do them in half afternoon projects, and every time you learn about a new piece of technology about blockchain. And then once you feel confident, then you could take the boot camp, and you could might as well spend all of your time on it, because it's time intensive. The more time you spend on it, the more obviously you get back from it. I think I've said everything.
No, that's great. I think that's perfect. That's what I try to encourage people to do. I've been saying that a lot in my YouTube videos these days. It's like, if you're trying to get started, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can basically go to like my YouTube homepage and get any of those like free, Udemy type tutorials. They're a couple hours long. Jump in there and build sort of like a toy project, basically, like a tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to move beyond that, and then jump in and get the much bigger, comprehensive step-by-step plan, then you can do camp. Or you can really even skip the tutorials on YouTube and jump in there, kind of depending on your skill level and what your goal is. It really is designed to be like a step-by-step sort of thing. So, and so also want to get this right. So that was 2 months, right? That's good.
Yeah, that was
good. Yeah. So that was 2 months of leaving your job and then going all in on blockchain, learning for 2 months, and then at the end of that, boom, you were hired. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm super happy about it. So I really would encourage everyone who, has the dream in their pockets to go for it. If you can afford to pay if you have rent to pay, that's what I say to others, sadly you have rent to pay, but if you can try, then definitely go for it. It's scary, but it's really not that difficult. Like, you're gonna get it eventually, 100%. I think if you want it, if you try, if you go through your boot camp, then definitely you have 100% the skills, because this sector is always evolving. So as long as you got the basics tied in, that what you get from your boot camp, and you're always going to learn about new technologies, because new technology is always coming to blockchain. Solidity language is constantly being updated. But I think your bootcamp gave me all the basics, really, and I still use all of your templates, all of your techniques, so definitely, if you finish that, you are ready. It's just about talking to people, find a project you like. If you haven't coming from a different angle, like from a specific sector, like supply chain or something like that, which could benefit from blockchain, then try to look for startups in that area that do blockchain for that specific type of project. And they could hire you as, some other position, maybe not a blockchain developer, but you could slowly make your way towards becoming one. For example, I got hired as a security auditor because I was a cybersecurity hacker before, but now I'm 100% on development side. So
Yeah.
it always changes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect point, because I say that to people sometimes too. It's like, sometimes you get feedback from a company that says like, hey, maybe, we need a little more experience or something like that if we want to hire you. Or maybe somebody has a front end background, they want to get into blockchain or something like that. It's like, you might be able to start somewhere else in the company and just get your foot in the door and transition into that job. Now, it's not a guarantee, but I've seen that happen a lot. You know what I mean? Throughout just multiple sectors of technology. I mean, it's just a common play, and that's what you did here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's great, Cosimo. So, man, I really enjoyed this. I really appreciate you coming on the channel today. I know I got a lot out of this. I hope everyone else listening did as well. So I think we've pretty much covered it, man. If of course, people in the mastery program can reach out to you if they're watching this video and hit you up
Absolutely.
or something like that.
Are
you on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Cosimo De Medici, or look for my company, xtrp.io. And yeah, definitely reach out to me. I'd be super happy to talk to others. I'm super happy to have this opportunity with you to be able to inspire others. And, if even just one person got a job because of this video, I'd be super happy.
Yeah, me too, man. That's the goal here, to inspire and equip. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again. Everybody, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click the like button down below. It really helps this videos be found so that more people can, become blockchain developers, right? I'll put a link down below for Cosimo as well. Down there is going to be the link to the boot camp as well. If you're looking to make that career change, looking to make the jump just like he did, then you've heard it from the man himself. That was sort of the step-by-step curriculum that got him to where he is today. So anyways, man, super excited. Thanks again. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University. Yeah. Thanks, buddy.